From the moment I saw the Airbnb listing, I was captivated. An ancient ivy-draped manor nestled in the fog-laden hills of Scotland. The pictures showed rooms filled with antiques, massive fireplaces, and windows overlooking shadowy moors, perfect for the solitary writing retreat I craved. Eagerly, I booked it for a month. I arrived on a gloomy Thursday afternoon. The Uber driver hesitated as we drove up the long, winding driveway. "Not many come up here, sir," he murmured, his eyes fixed on the rearview mirror. "And even fewer stay the full night." I chuckled, dismissing his words as local superstition. The house was more imposing than the photos could ever show. Tall, with towers and turrets poking up into the low clouds like fingers of a forgotten god. The owner, a Mr. MacLeod, wasn't there to greet me. Instead, a note pinned to the massive oak door welcomed me, with a set of old-fashioned keys tied to it. Inside, the air was cold and musty, scented with the ghosts of 1,000 fires long burned out. My footsteps echoed off the stone floors and high ceilings, filling the space with the pulse of life again. I chose a bedroom on the second floor, with a view of the moor and the gnarled trees that seemed to whisper secrets in the gusting wind. That first night, I lit a fire in the ancient hearth and settled into the deep cushions of an aged leather armchair. The wind howled outside, a symphony of the lonely and the lost. Wrapped in the sounds of the storm and the crackling fire, I fell asleep. I awoke to the sound of dripping water. The room was dark, the fire reduced to embers. The dripping wasn't consistent, it was rhythmic, almost intentional. Tap, tap, tap. It echoed through the halls, a sinister metronome. With a flashlight, I followed the sound downstairs to the kitchen. Nothing seemed out of place except for a dampness in the air, a chill that sank into my bones. Returning to bed, I reassured myself it was just the house settling, or my imagination, fueled by the isolation. But as the nights wore on, the noises grew. Footsteps in the hall, whispers behind closed doors. One evening, I found my belongings moved from where I had left them, my writing scattered, and my pens arranged into what looked suspiciously like symbols. It wasn't until the 7th night that I saw her. I was walking through the corridor, my mind preoccupied with my disrupted work, when I turned a corner, and there she stood at the end of the hallway. A woman, dressed in a gown that might have been white once, long ago. Her hair was wild, her eyes hollows of despair. She reached out to me, her mouth opening in a silent scream before she vanished. The terror I felt then was primal. I sprinted back to my room, locking the door behind me. I spent the night awake, lights ablaze, every creak and moan of the house a torment. By morning, I decided I could not stay another night. I called Mr. MacLeod, intending to leave as soon as he picked up, but he never did. Instead, I received a call from a local police officer. "Mr. MacLeod passed away over a year ago," he explained, his voice low and serious. "His estate has been unoccupied since. We've had reports. Well, it's probably just kids telling stories." I packed my bags, my mind numb with fear and confusion. As I left the house, I glanced back. The woman was there again, standing in the upper window watching me. Her sorrowful gaze pierced me, and for a moment I hesitated, torn between fear and a desperate pity. The drive back to civilization was silent. The Uber driver didn't ask about my stay, and I didn't volunteer any information. When I arrived home, I researched the house. What I found chilled me to my core. The manor had been a sanctuary in the 1800s, a place for the troubled and the mad. Many had died there, their lives marked by suffering and despair. The woman in white was likely a patient, her spirit trapped within those stone walls. I never returned to Scotland, nor did I speak of my experiences for many years, but the memory of the manor and its ghostly inhabitant lingered long after, a haunting reminder of the past that refuses to be forgotten. Sometimes, in the quiet of the night, I still hear her voice, whispering through the veils of time, a lament for both of us.